Right now then in the UK Parliament.
The dishonesty and the lies of Vote Leave brought the country to vote for Brexit in the first place. And this should be something...
Order, resume your seat. As far as I'm aware, the right honourable gentleman is not currently giving way. And so the Chancellor actually shouldn't stand there portentously as though he has an absolute right to intervene. It might be courteous to allow him to do so, but such an allowance has not yet been made. Mr. Ian Blackford.
I'm afraid today, Mr. Speaker, this House will be listening to our voices, and perhaps the right honourable gentleman might catch your eye later on. Mr. Speaker, the dishonesty and lies of Vote Leave brought this country to vote for Brexit in the first place, and this would be something that the Prime Minister and many in his cabinet should be ashamed of. They have torn their country, their parliament, their own party apart. Mr. Speaker, this is the beginning of the end of their precious union and their distorted Etonian vision for society. Scotland will not be ignored anymore. The deal must be stopped and binned today. Whether this deal passes today or not, the government needs an extension. This deal is devastating for Scotland. We will not vote for it, and we call for the extension period to be used for an election so that we can get rid of this rotten Tory government out of Downing Street. The Scottish National Party are here to do our job, to stand stronger for Scotland. Those across this House who ever want to lay claim to representing the voices and the interests of the people of Scotland, you cannot support this deal. You cannot inflict economic and social harm on our society. Myth after myth from the Prime Minister and his cronies, but the facts are clear. The European Union accounts for 56% of the UK's exports and 65% of imports, either through the EU directly or through other countries where the EU has trade arrangements with. The direct value of EU trade is over triple the value of US trade. The Brexit Secretary even said that the EU was the UK's most important partner. 100,000 jobs in Scotland at risk. Our fishermen, farmer and crofters, all disadvantaged by this deal. As the Scottish Seafood Association put it, this could switch the lights out for a small exporter.
Correct.
5 separate certificates all have to be done on October 31st. For a small exporter, that is possibly trying to sell 30 kilos of top quality langoustines to a restaurant in Paris. Switch the lights off. The restaurant owner is going to go and buy his lovely langoustines somewhere else. Not my words, that's from the Scottish Seafood Association. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, that people in Scotland can see the government front bench are laughing. People's livelihoods are at risk, and the government front bench thinks it's funny. You should be utterly ashamed of yourselves. Mr. Speaker, the Scottish National Party will not stand by and let this government rip our economy and our country's future apart. We are Europeans, and Scotland is a European nation. Members across this House should unite with the SNP and bring this government down. A general election is the best way now to stop this Prime Minister and stop this dangerous Brexit. Mr. Speaker, let me say this. Anyone, any single member here this afternoon who backs the Tory Prime Minister and his cheating Vote Leave campaign by shafting Scotland will never, not ever be forgiven by the people of Scotland.
Found in the courts.
Overnight, we've seen the reports, the rumours and the whispers. Mr. Speaker, is the Labour Party really going to allow their members of Parliament to vote for this catastrophic Brexit deal? Let me remind the Labour Party what the TUC said. This deal would be a disaster for working people. It would hammer the economy, cost jobs and sell workers' rights down the river. The Prime Minister has negotiated even a worse deal than Theresa May. All MPs should vote against it. That's the words of the TUC. So let me ask, why has the Leader of the Opposition not yet guaranteed that all Labour MPs will vote with the Scottish National Party this afternoon against this deal? A deal that would be devastating for Scotland, ripping us out of the EU against our will, terminating our freedom of movement rights, threatening jobs, living standards, our public services and the economy. Is the Leader of the Labour Party really willing to allow any members of his party to write a blank cheque for this Tory Prime Minister to deliver Brexit? Not a single member of the Labour Party should be voting for a deal that delivers a race to the bottom on workers' rights, on environmental standards, and paves the way for dismantling our precious NHS. It would be absolutely staggering that with a no-deal threat on the table, any Labour MP could even think about voting for this toxic deal. Mr. Speaker, Labour must not be the handmaidens of a Tory Brexit, which we know will cost thousands of jobs and harm people's livelihoods. So I appeal to every member of I did
I thank the right honourable gentleman for giving way. I wondered if he got a section of his speech from John Landsman. So could I ask the right honourable gentleman, does he agree with me that when it comes to workers' rights, the EU isn't God? The fact is, local authorities...
All right, that's Ian Blackford, one of the MPs there, calling this catastrophic Brexit deal disaster for working people. So, of course...